Yo gamers, my name is Flaws. The gamer that has ever gamed has returned for the part 2 out of 2, well it should be out of 2, for the mostly complete lore of Hollow Knight. However, I will be skipping the guard home section and then react to it later, I guess. Because I have yet to finish P5. It's not because I haven't been trying, I have been trying a few times. But as I've stated earlier, I don't have a lot of time. But I am thankful for you guys being patient with me, and if you guys have any ideas for other React content, because that actually leaves me more room to actually do P5. Okay? So if you guys have anything else you want me to react to, feel free to let me know in the comments. P5 is gonna happen. Thank you for staying with me. And of course, thank you for the love and appreciation. It's really nice. I appreciate it a lot. Like, in the past 28 days, I've seen a growth in over 100% in terms of subscribers. So I am very thankful. And views has been insane too. So yeah. And if any of you are new here, please do, you know, check out my playthrough of Hollow Knight. So I've heard good things about it. You know, that's kind of weird of me to say that, since I was the one who made it, but I've heard people say good things about it, so feel free. And I will skip the guard home section. I don't want to be spoiled, because I feel like it's gonna add to the P5 video. So yes, let's just get started, and you guys can see how far I am, so let's just get into it. We are at the Dreamers part. And it's Mossbag, so go subscribe to him. Seems like he's putting a lot of effort and love into his videos, so definitely worth a subscription. Oops, there it is. And I also heard that there was a bit of complaints about it being low volume. So I'll turn it up a bit, and hopefully it won't be... hopefully you guys will be able to hear me as well. So let's see.
Lurien the Watcher, Motomon the Teacher, and Hera the Beast. Lurien is definitely the most mysterious of the three dreamers. He lived in the Watcher's Spire in the City of Tears. From there, Lurien watched over the city with his telescope.
Okay, been
Lurien
there.
was a pretty big fan of the king, so it probably took little convincing for him to lie down for him.
Yeah.
Lurien might also be tied to another strange incident that occurred in the City of Tears. Hidden on some of Lurien's lore tablets are images of jars, the same jars that can be found stockpiled in the Tower of Love.
Yeah.
This building sits on the outskirts of the city, and is the setting of one of the most bizarre bosses in the game, the Collector.
Yeah.
The Collector is a void construct that appears to have been made from the same mold used to create the King's molds. But the Collector is unique because, well,
Good grief, he's naked!
The Collector stayed in the Tower of Love with a noble bug who likely owned the establishment.
Wait,
In the
where's
tower-
guard home? Kingdom in Ruin, base game ending. Oh my god, okay, perfect. It is the ending of the actual video. So this is actually gonna be part 2 out of 3. But we don't talk about that. It's just gonna be a standalone video. We're not gonna name it any parts or anything, okay?
A number of bugs can be found captured in jars, implying that these two were tasked with collecting these creatures. However, the Collector somehow became obsessed with grubs, creating a map to keep track of grubs it captured in jars, as well as keeping a strange shrine displaying a grub in the style of the Vitruvian Man. Eventually, the bug staying with the Collector decided to lock it inside the Tower of Love.
Is that like a distorted version of a Hollow Knight track that I don't really can put my finger on? But that is fucking crazy. What the fuck? The Collector is insane. I'm glad that I stopped the Collector from doing stupid Collector stuff, okay?
And fled to the Queen's Gardens, where it died, likely due to overexposure to the void. Despite being locked up in the tower, the Collector is still spotted by the Hunter at some point, which either means this only happened recently, or the Hunter has been farting around in Hallownest for a long ass time.
The Hunter looks so fucking sick. Really fucking sick design. Unfortunately, he's not a boss. Maybe he'll be in Silksong. I hardly doubt it. Oh yeah, also Mossbag actually put out a tweet yesterday about, oh no, Silksong got removed from Nintendo's website. And then if you search it up, actually do a Google search, the URL is actually correct and it works, so don't worry guys, keep out hope, keep out hope.
We have no idea what these creatures were trying to do. It's implied
Same.
that the collector was trying to preserve the creatures of Hallownest, perhaps trying to protect them from the spread of the infection, but we don't know where the collector's obsession with grubs originated.
Also,
And while
why would the collector put them in glasses and put them all over the world? Like, that's a new form of animal cruelty or bug cruelty. Like, what the fuck? Also, they're so cute.
Librarian does seem connected to all of this, we don't know how involved he was with this operation, or what its end goal exactly was. Motomon the teacher lived in the teacher's archives, a library built atop a lake of acid in the Fog Canyon. The lower half of her body consists of tentacles, making her a popular subject for the thriving Hollow Knight R34 community. The archives and the Fog Canyon as a whole are also filled with these strange Metroid knockoffs. These creatures are likely related to Motomon in some way. They could be her live offspring, her test tube babies, or possibly even her shit. Motomon uses futuristic cathode ray tube things to store information about Hallownest. Several terminals in the teacher's archive go into detail about the Pale King's plan to defeat the Radiance, indicating that Motomon had intimate knowledge of what she was taking part in.
Okay.
Finally, the Pale King sought the help of Hera the Beast, the Queen of Deepnest. Now, as I mentioned earlier, relations between Hallownest and Deepnest were kinda not great. Unlike the other two dreamers, Hera needed to be convinced in order to help the Pale King. Hera would eventually agree to become a dreamer, in exchange for a child. The Pale King agreed, and the two engaged in a dalliance,
Wait, what?
which is a fancy way of saying they totally boned. The White Lady was okay with this arrangement. In fact,
Fuck, why would she do that? Why would she be that?
she might have been watching from the closet. The motive behind Hera's request is never elaborated on, but it appears as though the King of Deepnest was dead at this point. Hera was a common bug, so perhaps she desired the Pale King's pale seed so that her child could be of high birth. The bargain between Hera and the Pale King resulted in the birth of Hornet. She became known as the gendered child, because unlike the Pale King's other children, Hornet was not hollowed out by the abyss.
What the fuck? Wait, sorry, I need to hear that again. Hornet is their child?
Pale seed, so that her child could be of high birth. The bargain between Hera and the Pale King resulted in the birth of Hornet. She became known as the gendered child, because unlike the Pale King's other children, Hornet was not hollowed out by the abyss. Hera and Hornet spent little time together, as Hera had to make good on her end of the bargain.
No wonder they are making a fucking game for Hornet. Hornet is the best sister, okay?
And so the three dreamers were put to rest. Through their actions, a seal was placed over the black egg.
Wait, sorry, I'm pausing a lot here, I'm sorry, but, you know, the other ending where it is that you don't kill the Radiance and you just let Hornet sleep, I guess, she gets to be the seal of the black egg, just like her mother! That is so morbid and so fucking sad. I'm glad that's not our ending, okay, guys?
Entrance into the chamber. These dreamers also had their own protection. At the base of Lurian's spire, the Watcher Knights guarded access to their master's body. Motomon's body was protected by a giant jellyfish named Umu. On top of this, Motomon entrusted her servant Quirrell with a mask which would be required to break an additional seal she had placed over herself. So she basically is double wrapping herself. As for Hera, we're not really sure what protected her, since it is never actually seen in-game. We don't know where this creature is hiding, but
we're not sure what protected her. Well, what about those fucking creatures down there that are insane? Deals 2 damage, has a shield as their face, you have to jump over them or do some parry shenanigans? What do you mean nothing was protecting her? Like, no one wants to be in Deepnest. Not anyone. Not anyone. I don't want to hear it, okay? No one.
Whoever it is, they really suck at their job. Now there appears to be one more element to the Pale King's plan, involving the Weavers. Hidden away in the Weaver's den is an incomplete seal of binding, woven from silk. This design prominently features the Hollow Knight's head, and can be found in the White Palace, as well as blocking the exit during the Hollow Knight fight.
Oh.
Silk spools created by the Weavers can be found in the Stag Station in Hallownest, as well as the Stag Station next to the White Palace. These spools can also be found in the Pale King's workshop. We know that the Weavers were closely tied to Hera and Hornet, so their actions might have been a part of the deal between the Pale King and Hera. Once the Hollow Knight was ready, the radiance was somehow channeled into the vessel, which was then placed inside of a giant black egg located in the Forgotten Crossroads. This egg was built to sustain the Hollow Knight, and itself appears to be fashioned from void. The Hollow Knight was chained up, and the entrance to the black egg was locked behind a powerful seal created by the three Dreamers. Initially, this convoluted plan actually worked, and the infection was successfully contained. Memorials to the Hollow Knight and the Dreamers were erected in the City of Tears and the Resting Grounds. But this is the part of the story where things get a little bit hazy. By the time these statues were constructed, citizens had taken to writing on parchment woven from spider silk, which was all destroyed when water started pouring down onto the city. We don't know how long the Hollow Knight was able to completely contain the infection. Bugs from Dirtmouth used to go to the Temple of the Black Egg to pray, saying they felt at peace within the walls. But after a while, they stopped going, perhaps indicating that the infection was beginning to leak out again.
Oh.
The infectious air continued to seep through Hallownest for years. Eventually, even
This is the biggest downgrade to all of Hallownest. This infection, holy fuck, it made it look so disgusting, and I had no idea what the fuck happened. When it was just suddenly the Forgotten Crossroads was just fucking infected everywhere. Like, what the hell?
deepest parts
Biggest
of the
downgrade.
kingdom.
To this beautiful game, it's a big fucking downgrade.
As it turns out, the Pale King's
They could have made the infection look a bit more beautiful, couldn't they? Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe.
pure vessel wasn't quite so pure after all. The Hollow Knight had been tarnished by an idea instilled. While the game never explicitly tells us what that idea was, it does hint strongly at what it might be. Hidden away in the White Palace is a memory showing the Hollow Knight and the Pale King sharing a moment.
Yep, I remember
Hollow Knight
that.
might have developed a parental bond to the Pale King. And who could blame it? The Pale King is a pretty great dad after all. You know, if you ignore the infanticide and everything.
Yeah.
Remember those smug mushroom dickheads? Well, it turns out their trust
They're not smug. Like, you're literally invading their territory, and they hate the Pale King.
in the Pale King was a complete mistake.
No,
That
wait, they
shirt
were
line isn't
fan.
looking too
Oh, yeah. But no
good
mind.
now, is it? In the fungal core, the corpse of a giant mushroom lies dormant.
They
His
accepted
final
them.
thoughts were, "Pale worm, what good to see a demise unavoidable?" This could imply that the Pale King always knew that his kingdom was doomed. All he could do was delay the inevitable. This is likely the moment when Hallownest, as it once was, entirely collapsed. The Hollow Knight had not completely stopped the infection, and while it may have taken a while, Hallownest was eventually brought low. It's at this point that characters and areas begin to resemble as we know them in-game. When it became clear that the Hollow Knight was not able to contain the radiance, the Pale King resorted to his final plan. He fucked off, hiding himself, his White Palace, and his Pale Court in the Dream World. At this point, all of the
Bye-bye,
furniture in the
bitch.
palace was covered under white sheets, similar to how people
Do we like the Pale King here? I'm not entirely sure. I feel like, you know, he did a lot of good stuff, but also a lot of bad stuff when shit hits the fan. So I don't know. Like, are we fans of him or what? Yeah. Let's just continue.
in the real world cover their furniture while away on long trips. The palace was also completely covered with thorns and buzzsaws, similar to how people in the real world cover their houses with thorns and buzzsaws.
Yeah.
The Pale King would eventually pass away while sitting on his throne in the White Palace. There's no confirmation on what killed him, but there are a few things to consider. The throne room is incredibly dark compared to the rest of the palace, and the particle effects and ambient track in this room are identical to that of the Abyss. All of the king's molds surrounding the Pale King are dead. The ancient basin itself also has become stained with the presence of void, as it can be seen as high as the rundown elevator shaft leading back to the city. Remember that bug that was sealed away in the Abyss to make sure the lighthouse wasn't turned off?
Yeah.
Well, the lighthouse was turned off. I guess that whole living with purpose thing is a crock of shit after all. It seems as though the Sea of Void itself actually convinced this bug to betray his king and turn off the lighthouse. Now I know what you're thinking. Exactly how conscious is the Void? Is the Void able to think for itself? Can it form strategies?
Yeah.
Does it host a podcast?
I was about to say yeah. I mean, we saw the radiance ending in the Black Egg. And they all, well, strategically helped me. Even though I didn't need it, of course. I would never need that.
Well, according to this Chozo statue ripoff, the Void is powerful, but not unified. So while it can thrash around at things that come near it, or call out in unison to turn off a light, it's not a single conscious being. Getting back to the Pale King, one could argue that the Void might have played a role in his ultimate demise, and I've argued that viewpoint in the past, but we have to remember that there isn't enough evidence to know for sure. As an expert lawyer and a good friend of mine, Johnny Cochran, once said, "Any evidence that the Void was involved in the Pale King's death is circumstantial. My name is Johnny Cochran." Just above the White Palace, the bugs in the City of Tears weren't faring much better. Even if we ignore the fact that the infection was still around, there were other issues that helped lead to the city's downfall. Due to the gates being sealed, some bugs resorted to cannibalism in order to avoid starvation.
Oh, this is where that ghost guy was. That I definitely did not put into my dream nail like the Lich King. I would never do such a thing, right?
There's also that metric fuckton of corpses lining the walls of the Soul Sanctum. When all was said and done, the only citizen left standing is Eternal Emelita, who just laughs her ass off about it like she's a fucking Dark Souls character. The White Lady ends up in a cocoon deep within the Queen's gardens. She decided to place bindings on herself in order to keep her from spreading her seed. She claims that this is because of the shame she feels in helping the Pale King create the vessels, but honestly, it's probably just her kink. The White Lady also diminished her power, possibly as
I don't know where this is from. Don't worry, I am rather far in P5. I'm not gonna spoil it here, but I am rather far. Don't worry.
a way to keep herself hidden from unwanted visitors. Outside her cocoon, Drya stood guard, protecting her queen.
Wait a second. What's that? Oh! Wait. Let me fix this, okay? I'm gonna cut to the part where I fix this. We need Mossy here. And just like that, we have Mossy with us. Hello? I didn't even know I had that on OBS, because I'm pretty sure I used Streamlabs when I recorded this. Okay. So wait, is it still on? I mean, it looks like it's shiny. Okay, yeah. Have you guys seen the border, guys? Have you guys seen a border? It's Mossy. I don't know why I did that. But let's continue.
Drya is eventually killed off by these bugs, which is actually pretty pathetic if you think about it. I mean, we're talking like the Netgear WPN824N N150 wireless router pathetic. Speaking of great knights dying pathetically, let's move on to Hagamel. Hagamel held the city crest, a key used to open one of the gates to the City of Tears. At some point, Hagamel's armor shell was stolen by a maggot. Now, maggots were generally looked down upon and forced to do menial labor. They were incredibly weak, and basically deserved all of the discrimination they got. But this one maggot decided to turn the tide, so he stole Hagamel's shell so that he could defend his downtrodden brothers.
Hardest boss in the game.
Motivated by the infection.
Behind Massive Mossy. Don't worry, guys, I'll come up with a guide so you guys can defeat False Knight. Remember, it's False Knight, not False Champion.
But instead was the result of how hierarchical caste systems will always lead to revolution from the working class, and that true freedom can only be achieved blah blah blah, capitalism is bad, subscribe to my Patreon. Ogre moved to the Royal Waterways and started living in shit,
so attacked.
Changing his name to Dung Defender. Now I love wallowing in shit as much as the next guy, but you'd have to really love shit to put up with living with the flukes. The Dung Defender kept an unwavering sense of duty and loyalty to the king, and love for his fellow knights. So much so that he made shit statues of them. How nice.
Yeah.
Ogrim acted as the defender of the pipeways, as well as Isma's Grove. A section of the Royal Waterways became filled with acid, and in the middle of it all rests Isma's corpse, which has been overcome by plant life. Isma is likely the one responsible for
I don't think I ever noticed that this was Isma's corpse. I don't think I noticed that. I think I ever saw the face.
this acid blight, but we have no idea what happened to her. Hornet's whereabouts during this time are fairly mysterious. We know that she departed Deepnest and didn't return until the events of the game. At some point, she took to guarding Hallownest from intruding warriors, as well as the cast-off shell in the Kingdom's Edge.
Quirrell versus Hornet? What?
Despite the Kingdom's woes at large, fortunately this fate did not befall one of the fandom's favorite characters. The Menderbugs continued to fix the broken signs and wayposts of Hallownest. From a diary entry, we can see that one Menderbug in particular had found himself on the precipice of a long and loving relationship.
Hello again, diary. Not long now until the next Minder Bash. For us stealthy types, we're a riotous bunch when we get together, and Minderberry kept flashing me that smile. It might be time to muster my courage and act on it. I love my home and my life, but sharing it with another? Why, that'd be the berry on top.
Greenpath also underwent some changes during this time. The Mosskin were waiting for Un's call, which would bring them back into the dream they were originally born from. But for some reason, Un's strength deteriorated. We don't know why this happened exactly. Was it due to the
That was also from Garnholm. P5.
lady claiming part of her kingdom? Was it somehow due to the infection? Some Mosskin believe that Un went into hiding, but it appears as though Un is, in fact, calling to her children. But many of the Mosskin are unable to hear her call. Instead, many Mosskin seem to have taken the Radiance's infection into their leaves, which might explain why Greenpath became overgrown with vegetation despite Un's deteriorating powers. Mossy vagabonds even openly chose to forsake Un and worship the Radiance.
Well, I mean, I don't think they had a choice here, honestly. I don't think they had a choice here. Do you guys think they had a choice here? It doesn't look like... Well, I mean, maybe these guys... Oh, these guys were so cute. They were all jumpy. Yay! Why did that?
Another tribe to be screwed over by the Radiance is the Hive, which fell to the infection after the death of their leader, Hive Queen Vespa. But it appears as though this had little effect on their civilization. The Radiance's hive mind was already familiar to the bees, since the Hive probably operated under something similar already. So in other words, the Hive probably made out the best in this whole situation.
Wait, I just noticed that I was nodding my head like that bee did.
To the moths. After all, it's their god that keeps killing everybody. Well, the moth tribe didn't fare too well actually, as pretty much the entire tribe died out. The only known survivor is the Seer. Despite the loss of her tribe, the Seer continued to tend to the graves in the resting grounds, while also waiting the arrival of the Wielder, a mysterious being that her tribe has dreamt of for a while. In the Kingdom's Edge, the land became covered in ash molting off of the worm's decomposing corpse. The Colosseum of Fools continued to thrive. The Lord Fool passed away at some point, but nobody really seems to notice or even care. The fools inside the Colosseum were infected, but still seem to have maintained control over themselves. It seems possible that these bugs took in the infection willingly, similar to the Traitor Lord and his followers. This would have given them an edge in combat, similar to using steroids, but without the whole
Did you guys see that? Did you guys see the primal ass pit?
shrinking testicles thing. However, even the Traitor Lord and his followers went mad, so what makes these fools any more special? As for the Pale King's champion, the Pale Lurker, well, she just went the normal kind of insane. There appears to have been another unforeseen event with the Pale
Just the
King's
normal
plan.
kind.
When the Hollow Knight was originally chosen, the door to the Abyss was sealed, trapping the discarded vessels within. But apparently, some vessels didn't get the memo. Vessel corpses can be found littered throughout the kingdom. There's one in the Ancient Basin, one in Greenpath, and several trapped in Nosk's lair in Deepnest. Another vessel that escaped from the Abyss is the player character,
Yay!
the Knight. The exact details on how the vessel
Why do we start at Howling Cliffs? Why is it that we start at Howling Cliffs if we escape the Abyss? How does that make sense? Maybe it's just a question best left unanswered. Who knows? Not me.
escape the Abyss is unclear. There are indications that they might have slipped into Deepnest through some old passageway, given void influences in part of the area, and all the corpses found in Nosk's lair. At some point, all entrances to Hallownest were closed off, with the old well-endured mouth being the only way to sneak back in. Despite this, several people have wormed their way into the kingdom, with few ever returning. Characters like Relic Seeker Lem seemed content to just pillage artifacts from the ruined kingdom, but other bugs seemed interested in something greater. In the Howling Cliffs rests the corpse of a member of the Grim Troop. The task of this bug appears to have been to seek out Hallownest, so that the troop might be summoned to the kingdom in the future. The Grim Troop are basically a group of bugs that serve a higher being known as the Nightmare Heart. The troop keeps the heart alive by feeding on the nightmares of fallen kingdoms. This process also involves sacrificing the troop master to his own child because... Hey, look at this cool ass boss battle. Another important group that traveled to Hallownest are the God Seekers. After being abandoned by their
Oh, okay. Whew. I thought maybe that would have been bad. That would have been bad.
old gods, the gods of thunder and the gods of rain. These bugs left their home in the land of storms, seeking out a new god to worship. The God Seekers looked to gods to save them from their own silent mind. While traveling through the wastelands, the God Seekers constructed devices called God Tuners, which helped them seek out new gods. Through this device, they were able to detect the lingering power of the Pale King and find their way to Hallownest.
Thankfully this is just masked. I hope.
When they arrived, however, the God Seeker was forced into hibernation. She was encased in a strange sarcophagus-like cocoon, which was itself chained up with a lock. It's not clear how this forced hibernation worked, seeing as the cocoon appears to have been made by the God Seeker herself. As for who put the cocoon in chains, I think the most likely candidate is the Dung Defender, considering how the God Seeker's cocoon is found in the junk pit in the waterways, an area the Dung Defender has tasked himself with protecting.
Okay.
This was
interesting.
The general picture of Hallownest after the Hollow Knight was sealed inside the Temple of the Black Egg. The kingdom was stuck in a kind of stasis, with the Pale King civilization destroyed and the Radiance unable to break free from her chains. The Pale King was rebelling against nature, trying to keep his work standing indefinitely. The stasis over Hallownest held for an age. How long is that exactly? Well, we have no idea. As I'm sure you've noticed, there really isn't a timeline for anything that happens in this game. We also have no idea how long any of these bugs can actually live. Elderbug wasn't around to see the Stagways open, but we know several other characters were, implying that Elderbug is probably one of the youngest characters in the whole game. But this stasis over Hallownest wasn't going to last forever. At some point, the Radiance erupted out of the Hollow Knight, cracking its shell and releasing a loud and powerful roar. The amount of infection leaking out of the Hollow Knight became even greater. The many corpses that lined the roads and cities of the kingdom sprang to life with the amplified power of the infection. This strengthened infection prompted the departure of the Weavers back to their old home. Now this old home might actually be Farloom, the kingdom in which Hollow Knight Silksong takes place. But the amount of knowledge we have about Silksong right now is pathetic, so I'm not saying that's confirmed or anything. This is also around the time that...
Oh, the combat in Silksong looks so good. Ooh, right up my alley.
Quirrell arrives back in Hallownest. His memory of Motomon appears to have been clouded due to his time outside of Hallownest. These events are depicted in the Quirrell prequel comic, which also shows an image of the Hollow Knight with a pre-cracked shell. This could mean that Quirrell's arrival happens roughly the same time the Hollow Knight's shell cracks. At around the same time Quirrell arrives in Hallownest, we also see the arrival of the player character, who is commonly referred to as the Knight. The Knight was one of the lucky vessels that was able to make its way out of the abyss. Somehow the Knight ended up venturing beyond Hallownest and into the wilds beyond.
Yeah.
It's implied that the Knight was called to Hallownest by either...
Does that mean we might even see... do we see... Are we gonna see the Knight in Silksong? Am I really just... I'm taking in all the copium here, okay? I'm not gonna leave any for the rest of you. You guys have held out hope for too long. Now it's my turn. Oh, good. We're good.
The sealed Hollow Knight or the Radiance within. Regardless, once the Knight shows up and yeets itself off this cliff, the actual game of Hollow Knight finally begins.
Sorry, just had a bit of a hiccup here.
Now, there's a lot of details we could get into. Hallownest is full of NPCs and bosses,
Wait.
each with their own...
Fluke Hermit. Sorry, there was a lot of noise around the place I live, so I had to take a break. But yeah, Fluke Hermit, I've never seen this character in my life. I didn't even know it existed. What the fuck? Noisy, gla, scary, up, stay here, gla? Yeah, let's...
stories to tell. But to be honest, I don't think we need to go through all of them, since their stories are relatively straightforward. For example, let's look at the Brooding Moloch. So why is the Brooding Moloch brooding? Because all its friends are dead. And there you go.
Yeah,
that's
fair
the
enough.
lore for the Brooding Moloch. Also, it's the only character in the game with a visible asshole. Now, did you really need me to explain
Why would he look for that?
that to you? Probably not. So instead, I'm just going to talk about the interactions relating to Hollow Knight's main
Wait, that is
story.
so cool.
The knight is eventually noticed by Hornet, who lures it deep into Greenpath. There, Hornet attempts to kill the knight, claiming that she knows what it would try to do. At this point, Hornet views the knight as being too weak. After the fight, Hornet can be found in the city.
Uses is too weak. Well, I one-tapped her.
Tears, next to the statue of the Hollow Knight.
Who's weak
Hornet
now?
mentions that the knight has gained a resilience, due to the time it spent in the void beyond Hallownest. This could be referring to the fact that some of those who leave Hallownest lose their memories, meaning the knight would have no memories of its own tragic conception. Hornet tells the knight that if it seeks to continue the stasis that keeps Hallownest standing, it must seek the Graven Ash, which is referring to the Kingdom's Edge. At this moment, Hornet sees the knight as a possible replacement for the Hollow Knight. Basically, the knight could break the seals that keep the Hollow Knight locked away, defeat the Hollow Knight, and contain the infection itself.
But that's
It's
not good.
at this point that I should mention that Hollow Knight actually has 5 different endings, because of course it would. I'm going to be explaining each of these endings in this
okay,
video,
good. Oof.
as they each give us a different glimpse into the mechanics of Hollow Knight's world. Now, to get the easiest ending to Hollow Knight, Hornet's instructions to go to the Kingdom's Edge
I like how I shielded myself from it when I could just have looked away. Instead, I just... No! Shields up!
can be ignored completely. If the knight stumbles upon the resting grounds, the 3 dreamers will appear and cast the knight into the dream realm. There, Seer will come to the knight's rescue and grant it the Dream Nail, a special blade
Oh,
that can
that
tear
was
the veil between
Seer!
the real world and the dream world. With the Dream Nail, the knight can venture to the resting places of the 3 dreamers, curb stomp their asses, and unlock the entrance to the Black Egg.
Hardest bosses in
Inside
the game.
The knight finds the Hollow Knight chained up, silently watching over it.
Yeah,
Once
yeah,
the
look,
chains are
he's actually
broken,
following
The
him.
Hollow Knight screams with that familiar radiance roar and pursues the knight. As the fight progresses, the Hollow Knight starts trying to kill itself, Quirrell style. But then the radiance starts using the
Sorry? Did he just say Quirrell style? I never saw him try to off himself. Huh.
Hollow Knight's body to perform her own attacks. Once defeated, the Hollow Knight begins to spew infection all over the place. The knight can then focus the infection into itself. This results in the first ending of the game, called Hollow Knight. In this ending, the knight usurps the Hollow Knight, prolonging the stasis over Hallownest. New chains and bindings appear out of fuck if I know, and contain the knight, and a new seal is placed over the entrance to the Black Egg. Now there is one giant question looming over this ending. Can the knight actually contain the infection indefinitely, or will the radiance still manage to break free one day? Before we answer this question, let's look at some of the other events that can transpire while playing the game. If the player chooses to go to Kingdom's Edge, Hornet will challenge the knight one last time as a final test of strength. After her defeat, Hornet allows the knight to access the cast-off shell, where the Pale King was originally hatched. By interacting with this egg, the knight's shell is marked with the king's brand, technically making the knight the new ruler of Hallownest. With the
Yay!
king's
That's
brand, the knight
us!
can now open the entrance to the abyss and discover the place of its birth. When leaving the abyss, the knight can encounter Hornet again, where for the first time, Hornet suggests that there are actually 2 outcomes the knight can enact. She tells the knight that it can either prolong Hallownest stasis, or face the heart of the kingdom's infection. Within the knight, Hornet sees a chance for change. Instead of just replacing the Hollow Knight, Hornet believes that it may be possible to get rid of the infection completely by using the void inside of the
Wait,
knight.
what?
After visiting the abyss and obtaining the Shade Cloak, the knight is capable of reaching the White Lady, hidden away in the Queen's gardens. The White Lady tells the knight that she has been awaiting a vessel to accept a gift, that gift being 1/2 of a charm called the King's Soul, which she claims will give the Knight more power. The White Lady goes on to explain that she can feel the weakening of the Hollow Knight within her roots. She tells the Knight that it is free of the blemishes that made the Hollow Knight a flawed vessel. From this dialogue, it is implied that the Knight truly is a pure vessel, capable of containing the radiance successfully. But it's not quite that simple, so we're gonna have to dig a bit deeper into this. Basically, we're gonna need to answer a simple question. What exactly does it mean to be a Hollow Knight? Despite the White Lady's words, we have a
What is that? It refuses to trade. It has a will all its own. Can refuse. Jin will keep waiting until a gift comes. Steel Soul Jin. Is that like you need to do a Steel Soul playthrough or what? Like, that is so cool. What a cool character. I would assume that's from it, and that's why I haven't seen it. Maybe? I am not sure.
Words. We have a number of instances where the characters and item descriptions mention that the Knight has a will, and maybe even a mind. But from the Pale King's dialogue when describing the Hollow Knight, it is stated that a pure vessel has no mind or will. So is the White Lady wrong? Or maybe even lying? Her eyes have been clouded by time, and she can be tricked into thinking that Ogrim is in the room when the Knight is wearing the Defender's Crest charm. She also thinks that Dryia is still alive, which... So maybe the White Lady is just senile. My problem with that theory is that the White Lady states that the vessels stand out to her clearly in a misted world, due to them being her spawn. She also questions whether or not the Knight sought her aid, which would imply that the Knight must have some kind of will. So for whatever reason the White Lady thinks the Knight is still capable of containing the radiance, even if it's still able to make decisions.
These guys are
After
fucking
all,
insane.
The Hollow Knight was considered pure, but they still taught her how to wield a fucking sword.
That's a banger art. That is such a cool art of pure vessel. Yo, what a giga chat.
I mean, if the Knight were truly and completely hollow in a literal sense, it probably shouldn't even be able to walk, or draw a map, or open a goddamn bank account.
Yo.
In short, this whole concept of being hollow is so abstract and hard to define, I don't really feel comfortable giving a solid answer on whether or not the Knight is or isn't truly hollow, and I think the game leaves room open for other interpretations. Of course, the White Lady's gift is useless without the other half of the King's Soul. In order to reach it, however, the Knight must travel to the White Palace, locked inside the body of a King's Mold. In order to bypass the seal, the Knight must use a fully awakened Dream Nail. It can do this by bringing 1800 essence to the seer, allowing her to sharpen the weapon's blade. If the Knight does this, the seer remarks that the Knight truly is the wielder that her tribe has been dreaming of. There's no explicit reason why the Moth tribe was dreaming about this supposed wielder so much, but it seems like they believe the wielder would wash away the crimes the Moth tribe committed by turning their backs on the Radiance. The seer seems to know that the Knight might kill the Radiance, and she seems accepting of it, ready for her and her tribe to disappear and be forgotten forever. With the awoken Dream Nail in hand, the Knight can travel to the Pale King's refuge and locate the other half of the King's Soul charm. When equipped, the King's Soul provides a never-ending supply of soul, making it almost useful if it weren't for the insanely high cost of the charm, and the painfully slow rate at which it increases, and the fact that the charm will get replaced in about 5 minutes after you get it. The King's Soul charm itself symbolizes the union between two higher beings. To me, this implies that the King's Soul is a representation of a vessel, which also was created by the union of two higher beings. With the King's Soul in their inventory, the Knight now gains access to an area in the Abyss called the Birthplace. In this massive pile of vessel shells, the Knight can find a giant egg. Dream nailing the egg allows the Knight to access its own memory when it was cast down into the Abyss.
No.
From viewing that memory, the King's Soul charm is replaced with the Void Heart charm. The recollection of this event allows the Knight to come to terms with the void inside itself. Once the Knight has the Void Heart, the Shades in the Abyss no longer attack it, and that strange creature that gives the Knight the Shade Cloak calls it the Lord of Shades. In other words, the Knight has now bound the once fragmented void under its own will, allowing it to control.
Why is it like a guard home, the Hall of Guards? Why is it like that? I don't think I've seen that. Might be a spoiler, but I don't care.
The void in a powerful new way.
Or maybe I just haven't looked.
Of the void, the Pale King, and the White Lady, the Knight has gained a strength before unseen. It is with this charm that 2 additional endings become unlocked. Hornet will now be standing outside of the Black Egg, offering to help the Knight should the opportunity arrive. Midway through the fight with the Hollow Knight, Hornet rushes into battle, subduing the Hollow Knight and piercing its shell. It's at this point that the Knight is given the perfect opportunity to enter into the mind of its
Or
sibling,
not,
fighting the source of
he's not gonna
infection
do it.
head on, and finally putting an end to the Radiance's tyranny. Or I can just stand there and let Hornet get knocked unconscious. If the Knight finishes off the Hollow Knight as usual, the sealed sibling ending occurs. Basically, it's the same as the Hollow Knight ending, but now Hornet is in the room too, and her face appears on the door of the Black Egg. It's not clear what exactly this means.
You won't be able to open this door ever, since Hornet is in there, and you need to defeat her in a dream. Good luck with that.
For Hallownest. This might imply that Hornet is now a dreamer, but she's inside the temple, meaning that no one can actually get in there to kill her should the Knight ever start the infection. At the same time, Hornet mentions that the bindings of the Black Egg would drain her, so she's probably just going to die anyway, right?
Oh.
Generally, people consider this to be one of the worst endings.
Oh yeah,
it
is.
Pointing out that Team Cherry doesn't support any one ending as being the true ending. Each ending is canonical in its own right, and honestly, this ending isn't the worst. At least the Knight and Hornet will get to spend some quality time together.
Yay!
If the Knight does dream of the Hollow Knight, it will be taken to an arena where it can finally fight the Radiance head on. But the Knight isn't alone.
That is so
other
cool.
shades from the Abyss will appear in order to help corner the Radiance.
I love
Eventually,
this
the
ending.
Radiance gets trapped in the tendrils of the Void. The Knight bitch slaps her a couple times, and then the Radiance is consumed into the darkness. The Black Egg then appears to turn to shadows and the Void seeps down into the ground. Hornet awakens to find the Knight's broken shell lying on the floor. We get one final shot of the Shades in the Abyss going to rest, and the game is over. This ending is called the Dream No More ending. The Radiance is gone, and Hallownest is finally free from her infection. Now I thought it was fair to ask a few questions about how the Dream No More ending comes about. When the Hollow Knight was initially chosen to become the pure vessel, the Abyss was sealed up and the rest of the vessels were left to rot away. But somehow, vessels ended up outside of the Abyss, and then one of those vessels was used to replace the Hollow Knight. Exactly how much of this operation was planned, if at all? The White Lady was waiting for a vessel. Did she have any communication with Hornet? Hornet was guarding the King's Brand, the only way for a vessel to enter the Abyss. How did she know it was necessary to guard the King's Brand from weaker vessels? Hell, if the vessels did escape the Abyss by themselves, wouldn't it be pointless to guard the King's Brand, since the vessels could just creep back into the Abyss the same way? I'm not going to provide any good answers to these questions, because God forbid I answer anything in this entire video. But I do want to point out that no plans to actually produce the Dream No More ending are explicitly stated in-game. So we can only speculate as to whether or not the White Lady or Hornet, or maybe even the Pale King, knew that they could defeat the Radiance by creating a Lord of Shades like the Knight. Regardless, the next 2 endings were definitely not planned.
Yeah, this is gonna be it for today's react video. I will not watch that. I don't want to be spoiled by the Guardmaster ending or Guardseeker ending. I think that is fair to say, and of course, sorry for the delay, but hopefully I'll manage to do P5 soon, so I can start editing the actual video. It might be a lot of work, but I'm all for it, you know? It's fun, and I want you guys to enjoy the experience as much as I did. I say that, but guys, there's another reason why I have been, you know, a bit slow on the P5 stuff. It's because I really am not a fan of roguelikes. Or roguelites? I don't even know. But the fact that I have to start over every single 40 minutes because I die, I mean, just stop being bad, right? But not the point. Not the point. I am not the biggest fan of roguelikes, and, you know, having to start over fucking sucks. But I will get it done. I will. Like, the thing is, I don't even like rewatching the same series or the same movies. If I have to rewatch the same movie, I have... over 10 years have to pass if I am to enjoy it fully again. I don't know why it's like that, but I just never really liked it. Sometimes because I have done it before, and I was like, it's just not the same, you know. But yes, I don't really know what else to say other than thank you guys for watching. And feel free to hit that subscribe button, because there's gonna be a P5 video out soon, TM. He says that while not having finished it, but I will get it done. Don't worry, I promised, so I will get it done. It's just a matter of time by now, honestly. So yes, thank you all so very much for watching. The friendlies of reminders to leave a like and subscribe to stay tuned for more. It helps me a ton, so thank you in advance. And of course, remember to leave suggestions as to what I could react to next. Unless if I actually do finish P5. Now actually, still, you know, react suggestions is really good, because I still don't know the story about the nail masters, Sly, Shio, the nailsmith, Oro, Mato, all of them. I don't know the story about that, so me giving the nail master, the quote-unquote big one, Shio's ability, I heard that it was kind of sad, but I thought I would learn that from this, but I didn't. So yeah, once again, thank you all so very much for watching, and all the support you guys have given me, and the patience you guys have shown. So, and until next time, and 3, 2, 1, fades away.